This is live. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're live. So welcome to Freelance Business Week Buffalo. So glad to have you guys here. I'm Claire Deal. I run own the virtual deal, and I have a virtual office support business here in Buffalo. And I'm also a freelancer, which is how I keep up with all of the, in the know industry topics. Right now, today, we have our collaboration panel working together to help clients reinvent their marketing. We have Cassie Conroy, we have Victor Orazo, and Kim Heckman. So I'm sorry about the names and everything. I'm sorry, Kim Meckernan. I'm so sorry, Kim. Okay, so we're going to start here with our collaboration panel, and maybe you guys could tell us a little bit about what you do too before you answer the first question, so that we can have an idea of what your business is. So let's start with. Are we going to start with Kim?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited to be kicking off Freelance Business Week. When I first started my business, Freelance Business Week was one of the most instrumental things I did to get going quickly. So I'm honored to be with some of my wonderful, esteemed collaborating partners here today that I would not have met if it were not for Marie and Freelance Business Week. So my name is Kimmery McKernan. I'm the founder of Inspired Outcomes, and my focus is really on helping business owners bring their vision to life with a true brand. Cassie, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Cassie Conroy. Also thrilled to be here. This is my second time participating in Freelance Business Week, and I share Kim's great enthusiasm about it and how it actually brought us all together. I am the owner of Rally Grace Content Marketing, and I specialize in helping business owners, very small business owners, freelancers, and entrepreneurs, and helping them create content marketing strategy to grow their businesses through engaging their ideal audience. So, Vic?
Hi, everybody. Thank you. It's a pleasure for being here with you guys. This is my first time doing Freelance Business Week as a speaker. Wish I could do it face to face, obviously, but this is second best. I too am very always pleased to have collaborative efforts with my colleagues like Kim and Cassie and of course Marie. So my name is Victor. I own a business called I Am, also known as Inner Arts and Media, and I'm a collaborative freelancer, and I specialize in branding design, photography, and video.
Awesome. Well, great to have you guys here. Super excited to hear all about what you guys all do together on the collaboration end. I did want to just reach out, just explain to you, we have some sponsors. You'll see some banners popping through here. Our sponsor for this session is Southtown's Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for sponsoring. You'll see the banners. Let's move forward with a little bit. I might throw in a few plugs here and there, but let's start off with Kim. Can you tell us about yourself a little bit and the kinds of collaboration you have done with other freelancers?
Sure. So the marketing landscape right now is very complex and ever changing. So I really found great success in partnering. So I've worked with Vic with companies that are starting something new, where I go in and define the brand, and then he helps in terms of logos, websites, and visual creatives. Likewise, I've worked with Cassie on companies that want to refresh their brand, and she helps with an excellent content strategy that fits right in with the branding. I've also worked with lots of other freelancers on things like strategic plans, as well as focusing on my specialty area, which is appreciative inquiry. Cassie, please share your thoughts.
Sure. So I cannot say enough about how collaboration has helped me grow my business as a freelancer, and helped me really zero in on and really define what I do best in terms of my little corner of the marketing world, which is content strategy and content writing. In addition to working with Kim on a number of projects, and most recently with Vic, I've also partnered with a lot of developers in the past, and that typically would look like they were either rehabilitating or recreating websites or building from square one. They would take care of the technical, and I would come in and assist with the search engine optimization elements and the copywriting or copy editing, however that was needed. But I'm always happy to collaborate, and it definitely helps us broaden our circles of resources. Vic?
Yeah, I make businesses look good. That's that's what I specialize in. I have expertise in brand strategy. Obviously, that's extremely important. So when you work with like-minded individuals that do the same things that you do, but also do things that you cannot, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I specialize in design, photography, and video, but I do not specialize in content creation. I do not specialize in social media management. So these are ways where I'm able to pull in other individuals that are just as strong and passionate about those areas as I am about mine.
All right. Thank you, guys. I agree. Knowledge is power. So that's one of my biggest things. I always say that's our most valuable resource. So this is great. Let's then kind of pivot into what are the advantages that the customers would receive, though, from you guys collaborating together as a whole.
Sure. So when we collaborate and bring in focus, are each able to focus on our area of expertise, ultimately the customer gets the best possible outcome, because we are each focusing on what we do best, and we are able to work together. Also, because we selected each other to work together, we know we will work together well and efficiently, and we're able to just have a really seamless project process.
Yeah, one of the things I like to say is you don't know what you don't know, right? And it really is a confusing landscape in marketing for your average business owner today. And I see them struggling all the time. They're trying to do it on their own. And this is really a new model that opens up an unprecedented amount of talent for these business owners. And I really feel that it fills in the gap that a business owner might have by being able to hire an expert who can really take that pressure off them.
I agree. The pressure we all face, honestly, it's just, at certain times it creates burnout, it creates everything. So working together, really just helps tenfold so many aspects to our business. It helps us, it helps the collaborators, it helps the customers. Does anybody have like a story that you can share that showed some successful collaborations that maybe somebody could take from this and see how they could use this with their other freelance colleagues, friends, stuff like that? Even ways we can use collaboration, perhaps maybe with other platforms, maybe that we're using, like Upwork, stuff like that. I don't know if you guys collaborate with other people that aren't necessarily that somebody you met face to face, somebody that you're meeting virtually, stuff like this. How do you guys have any success stories that you have from COVID?
Yes, I would love to share a couple of success stories. One that I worked with Vic. The company is called Feelings Rock, and it's a woman who founded it, and she specializes in music and movement for preschoolers. Well, she was hit hard with COVID, right? Who many business owners were, but she pivoted very quickly to virtual, but she saw there was a need, and the need was really to focus on feelings and the emotional side, even for preschoolers. So Vic and I very quickly were able to work with her, and we developed a logo. We developed her brand. We developed a website and really got it out there within weeks, so she would be able to make this transition. And then we were able, as we started to develop characters as part of the Feelings Rock brand, Vic brought in an illustrator he knew. And we were able to supplement our team and really get her just what she needed. And luckily, as a business owner, she is also very collaborative as well. So we did phenomenal work together. Vic, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I think it's important to know that, I kind of use the analogy of Lego pieces, right? So like, let's say you had a whole bunch of Legos, and I have 2 little ones. So like I see Legos everywhere around my house, right? So let's say you have Legos and you need to create a bird out of Legos, right? You're probably going to use different pieces, even though all the pegs, match and plug in. You're probably going to use different pieces to create the bird versus the frog, right? So it's just a matter of, whatever project that you guys are going to be working on, whether it's yourself or hopefully collaborative, like we do, you just bring in the right pieces to create the vision, to bring that project and land it the right way. And there's a lot of things that go into that. And I know one thing that's big with Cassie is values, right? And ethics. So, not just getting someone that's just talented that could complete the job, but getting someone that's going to be invested and fit right into the team.
Right. That's so important, because when, we are each representing our own businesses at the same time. And one of the great things about freelancers, and this kind of gets into the theme of the Freelance Business Week, which is intention, impact, and purpose, is freelancers, we are able to set our intentions of who we work with, how we work with, and why we work. And that needs to transfer onto the collaboration as well for it to ultimately be successful. A person can be extraordinarily talented, but if you're not aligned in your work ethic, your communication style, things of those nature, it's going to cause a disconnect in your project, and ultimately it's going to be the project that suffers because of that. So you have to be really mindful of, talking to your potential collaboration partners and looking beyond just their skill set and to what their personality is, their values, and their purpose.
And I find that our customers just love that they can work with this team that is bringing so much to the table. And, the ideas are flying, and you really see that the sum is so much bigger than the individual parts when we work together in that way.
And how are you feeling as not just the client, though? Like, what are you taking from each other then? What are you learning from each other when you're collaborating, when you're partnering together? Not necessarily what it benefits the client, but what is it benefiting you working with Vic? Like, how is Vic benefiting you, and how are you moving forward and making these connections lasting? And so that you do have intention, you are creating collaborations for impact and purpose.
I think that the more that we work together, the more we understand not only each other in terms of our personalities, our work ethics, and our working style, but we also learn so much from each other in terms of the technical expertise that we each bring to the table. I mean, before I worked with Kim, I had no idea how involved branding was. And now I say with no, not without being facetious, I would love all of my clients to work with Kim before they work with me, because it makes my job so much easier when that work is done, and it's so valuable. And the same thing with Vic, to really understand what goes into the technology side of a website, and how, there isn't it's not a cookie cutter process. It's very individualized for that client. And what that does too, ultimately, I think it helps us learn where our boundaries are too, in terms of, I focus on this, you focus on that, and so on. But yet in the background, we are so collaborative. We're meeting with each other, we're strategizing, and we're making sure that the plan works best for the client.
So Kim is kind of like a mentor of mine. I'm like a mini Kim.
Yeah. We all want to be Kim when we grow up.
I wish I had her hair, but I'm covering that up with a Kim hat. But the cool thing about Kim is that she's kind of like I have a really bird's eye view of brand strategy. And I have expertise. I have, background of schooling, things of that nature. But Kim just has, miles and miles of leverage above that. Like she's seen, like she's a falcon in the air, right? She's looking down at the canyon below, in a much higher way. So like every time that we collaborate on projects, as much vision as I have, I'm seeing even more through the lens of Kim. And we have a recent client of ours that we're going to be collaborating with for website design. And I can't wait to learn from Cassie because she's going to be incorporating her know-how too for SEO. And that's just not my forte. So.
Nobody wants to touch SEO.
Yeah, really. And in 2021, I'll tell you, we have been able to land much bigger, more complex projects working together. So this year we have some of the largest projects that I've ever had, thanks to the ability to collaborate with these two wonderful professionals. And that's not even to discuss how much more fun it is and how much, when I wake up in the morning, I get to work with these guys. It's a good day, right? That collaboration is also so satisfactory.
Right. We, in a recent discussion, we were sort of joking about how when you're in a traditional work setting, oftentimes you have great coworkers, but sometimes maybe not. And when you're a freelancer and a collaborator, you get to choose who you work with. So it's always a great experience.
Can I interrupt though and ask you guys how you build trust? And building trust with other collaborators is very important for you, because then you have to take it back to your client and you have to trust that Vic did his part and Cassie did hers and Kim did hers. Everybody pulled it together as a team. And how do you guys build the trust with each other? I know I'm kind of, this is new. I was just kind of throwing this out here. So, I don't know. For me, it kind of is similar to how you pick your clients. It's picking who you, So, I just don't know. I have a difficult time when I work with freelancers, actually, that I meet virtually, creating that trust and creating that respect too for each other's boundaries. And like he said, you're a falcon and he's got a bird's eye view of all of this. I'm more like a phoenix. I sink or swim. There's a lot of times where I'm like kind of reappearing here and learning from my mistakes, and that's not always the best method. So how do you guys build that trust with each other? You just keep moving forward?
I think it's just you kind of build it over time. It's definitely like any other relationship, right? There's nothing different about it. To your point, you use the key word is respect. And I think, when you work and you pick and choose the right collaborators that you feel is going to fit the mold for whatever project you're pursuing to complete, you're going to have some sort of level of respect of that person's know-how, their expertise, and background. But I think over time, as you work on multiple projects, the trust starts to kick in, right? So I think it's a natural thing, with everything else.
Yeah.
It sounds like, it has to be a good fit. You should just know, but sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's where communication comes in too, Claire. Like really having very strong project management and communication is also necessary, because if it's not clear when things are due, it's not clear where the handoffs are. And in marketing, those handoffs are critical. Like how does Cassie know when it's time for her to begin, or Vic, right? So I think you can really build that trust by really also being very clear and over communicating rather than under communicating, right?
That's so true. And I think having that structure is so important, because there are times when there will be overlap in what we do. There'll be times when it's more of a relay. But giving us each other that structure is super helpful from a production standpoint and staying on task. But then we're also able to communicate that to the client as well, so they know who's in there, who's working, etc. And I think that goes a long way to building trust with working with freelancers, because sometimes people are a little nervous about that, but we present ourselves in the most professional, prepared light, and I think it puts everyone at ease.
All right.
There's something I want to address too that's really important in marketing, and that's this idea that you have generalists and specialists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, freelancers are great on the specialist side, but you also need somebody who's got the big picture to know what each person does and what they do best. So I think sometimes this role of generalist is not appreciated like it should be. And that also helps to build the trust, because people can come in, they can do what they do best, they can play to their strengths.
Okay, and then we also have a question here. Walter Carlton, he wants to know a little bit if we could talk about how we work on how you guys work on proposals together, and the financial relationships, how those work.
Sure. I've gotten involved in doing a lot of proposals with other freelancers, and there's really two ways to do it. You can either maintain your own business identity and then do a handoff to another freelancer, or you can decide to work together as one proposal. And I've done both options. I find the one proposal is sometimes easier for the client, because then they don't have to manage all those relationships. But both are really okay depending on your type of business. And doing the proposals, I find, is actually extremely beneficial for the later stages of the project, because you have to talk things out and you have to say, what am I good at? How many hours do I think this will take? What do you think, what will Cassie do versus Vic, right? So really using that proposal as a way to get alignment on a project is really, really valuable.
Yeah, I think it's important to, I agree with Kim. I think, obviously out of the two ways, I actually prefer the one entity option for the client, because it does feel a little bit easier for them. Plus, it's a point person.
Yes.
Right? I think it's extremely valuable to have a quarterback, right? Like, Kim is usually our Josh Allen, right? Like, she's quarterbacking the team, and she's usually a point person, and she actually bakes that into the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So Kim is going to say, all right, for my part, Vic, Cassie, this is what I'm thinking of charging for the extra time and communications. What I'm going to charge on top of that. Send me your proposals, and then I will send her mine. Cassie will send her hers. And then as a team, we will just review it together to make sure that not only is it fair to the client, obviously, because you want to land that job, but it's also fair to yourselves. I think that's extremely important.
All right. Thank you, Walter, for that question. If there's any other questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments. And I just wanted to thank Southtown's Regional Chamber of Commerce again for sponsoring this. Thank you very much. And if you don't have an all access pass, make sure you grab one for the week. There's some free sessions, but there's some really great sessions that you won't want to miss. Okay, so the next question, the theme for this event is the future of freelance, intention, impact, purpose. Can you share what role these play in freelancers collaborating, whether with you or however you see what others can do? Kim, would you like to start?
Sure. I really feel one of the topics I'm passionate about is diversity. So I studied the science of creativity, and the science shows the more diverse your team is, the better the ideas are and the more creative the ideas are. So collaborating, like we are talking about, really brings those different ideas. People who with different backgrounds, different knowledge, come together, and the result is so powerful for our customers. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is collaborating as a way to bring diversity of ideas to benefit everybody.
Okay, Cassie, how about you? Do you have anything to share?
Sure. And so we touched a little bit about on this earlier in terms of the intention, being able to choose those projects that are most important to us, that resonate with us, where we think we can bring the most impact. That's very, very important to me. I 100% agree with what Kim has said about the diversity of talent that we're able to bring to a group. Just comparing herself and myself, my background is in small business. I was an in-house marketing manager for 10 years I was a one-person department for a small international business, where Kim worked for a global corporation and has a whole different type of experience to bring to the table. And Victor has still another different diverse amount of experience. So we bring all of those together, and that really informs the creativity that we all bring to the projects and our ability to collaborate successfully and all to the benefit of the client.
I can't say enough about values. Like one of the things that we've found is all three of us have the same belief that we really want 100% success for that customer. Like we are all in, and this same value that we can bring also makes it easier when a decision has to be made. We are there and we are all of the same perspective. So those shared values that Cassie mentioned earlier come out every day. And that sometimes takes time, like you were saying, Claire, like you don't build trust in a minute, but also, pay attention to the values of the partners that you bring in and make sure they're a match.
That's actually what I was going to ask. And if you wouldn't mind, if somebody would get into that just a little bit deeper. Personally, I actually have turned away some clients, especially recently, where their values did not align with mine, and I didn't even have to talk to them. They were Googleable, and it was all over Twitter. One actually was banned from Twitter. So that was new. Yeah. So, and it wasn't the president, so I'm not getting into that. Don't worry.
First came to mind. This
it was weird, but that is very important to me, because I left the work world, the corporate world, to not have anybody tell me about my values and that they are wrong. And I know that it's very hard to make money too. So there's like this fine line between finding your clients and finding the clients that align. Does anybody have any advice that they give that you guys do when you're seeking out that client? Somebody asks you for that brand refresh. What do you do to make sure that there's somebody you want to propose this idea to?
I think it's okay to say no.
Absolutely.
I'm in 100% agreement. If it doesn't align, then great work usually won't come from it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the good thing to know is that for every no that you say, you're leaving a void for potential yes.
Yes.
Fill that void. If you said yes to every client, right, and just scrapping to pay bills and take a vacation once in a while, you're not necessarily going to get the clients that you're wanting to work with, nor positively, potentially land, a larger client that, you can build a stronger relationship with. So I would say, one of the best advices is it's okay to say no. You have a plate and you have to know when it's full.
I think that's one of the hardest lessons to learn as a new freelancer. It's okay to say no. And not only is it okay, learn where that line is for you. For me, 100%, I agree with you, Claire, that my value system is there will be clients that I will simply choose not to work with, because I wouldn't be giving them quality work if their values don't align with mine. But more often what happens is maybe just somebody isn't just the right fit. Maybe there's a different service provider who's better to suit them, where it would be more of a stretch for me. And it wouldn't fit into our collaboration if it was a potential collaboration. But what I have found is that in having the courage to say no, even when you're looking at that balance sheet, it comes back around and it allows you to be open for those opportunities that are aligned with who you are as a business, and everything, it will ultimately work out.
I'd like to chime in on that too, actually.
Sure.
I know you have something cool to say too, Kim, but let me chime in real quick on top of that, because sometimes when you say no, you're not really coming up with a solution for them, which is not necessarily the greatest thing to do as well, right? So the great thing about collaborating with others is that, you know, you kind of fine tune who, again, are going to be the right fit for what potential client may come your way. So instead of saying no to somebody, you could also say, you know what, like, I know someone that could better fit what you're trying to accomplish, right? And that's where, you know, I have fellow friends that are graphic designers, you know, fellow friends are photographers and videographers that may have their little niche, and it's okay not to take every yes and to say no and give it to somebody else that, you know, could suit them better. And I think that naturally comes in when you collaborate more.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But on the other hand, I would encourage those people listening to also be non-judgmental, right? Because we have found some excellent clients that on the surface wouldn't be a fit, or you wouldn't know until you've worked with them for a while that they also are very purpose driven. So I really feel that it takes both ways, and it has to be a fit on both sides, just like Vic said. And I also sometimes will say, I think you should work with an agency rather than freelancers, because maybe they need that depth, they need the speed, they need some other aspect that only a larger entity can provide them. So it's a yes and situation. Like always try to really make sure it's a fit on both sides, just like Vic and Cassie said.
Awesome. I love it because, like, I'm all about paying knowledge forward. And to me, paying knowledge forward is also like the same as like the referral based system that freelancers really should have, I think, for each other, instead of hoarding all these potential clients. Like, just there's so many out there. And now we have so many just because of COVID, the changes. I just feel like the options are endless right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's all good. Okay. Well, so let's move into a little bit about lessons. What are some lessons learned that could help others be more successful when collaborating? Loving to learn from all the wins, but if you have any mistakes that you've learned from too, that would be kind of interesting to hear if there's any. If not, I mean, obviously we know there's mistakes, but you know, just either perspective works for us freelancers. Kim, would you like to start?
Sure. So I think one of the things I'm really passionate about is making sure you build in time for creativity. And you know, Vic and I were recently in a project where there were so many moving parts that it was not apparent when you could like give reactions or work to improve it or somehow make the overall better. So one of my lessons learned is build in that time for creativity and the brain power of all the people to share their ideas on a given project.
Yeah, you definitely have to let it breathe, right? Working in almost a base approach. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
And I found that when I first got started with collaborating, just really seeking out and building relationships with, you know, I have a real abundance mindset when it comes to jobs in the freelance world. I think there's plenty of work for everyone. I don't see fellow marketers as quote unquote competition. In fact, other marketers have been my greatest resource of business as I've gotten up to where I am right now. So when I was first getting started in collaborating before I met Kim and Vic, I would just really foster those relationships I had with freelancers um, who have parallel skill sets, such as design, web development, things of that nature. And we would more informally collaborate, but that's kind of a good place to get started. And then you drill down into those, okay, just do we align well in collaborating? How do we work together? That kind of.
Obviously, you guys have been doing this for a while. Let's chat about some of our favorite hacks or software, apps, tips, whatever you have going on. Kim, you mentioned project management. There's probably some apps that you guys are using. I don't know if you're using Trello or like Asana or something like that, but maybe you could kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, like how you guys collaborate together, maybe, and tell us like your best tips and strategies that you do use together as maybe as a team, but also individually as a freelancer too.
Sure. So, one of my passions is communicating. So as a long, standing person who communicated in the corporate world for years, we know this is where things fall down. And when you're a freelancer, you're very busy as well. So I really think deciding as a team how you're going to communicate, really making that a decision point. I mean, in one recent project, we tried to use Slack and it was an utter disaster, right? It just didn't work. So then they didn't respond. So then you did email anyway, and it just doubled, tripled the work. So we've started using WhatsApp as a great communication tool where you get notified. It works on an international basis without having to worry about phone calls and those additional costs across time zones. So there's so many, but I found WhatsApp a great resource for communicating internally within our small team.
Can I ask why Slack was not beneficial to you guys because they were using both Slack and email management? Like it was just getting convoluted, or
unless people commit to it and are monitoring it, like so. Then somebody doesn't get back to you on Slack. What do you do, right? Well, then now I do an email because I didn't hear back. It didn't have the immediacy. So I think, making a decision based on what the team wants to work with and it is really important and what they buy into. So having those discussions is critical.
One of my favorite apps that I use as a designer is Flipboard. So Flipboard is a really cool app. Any of you guys aware of that app?
No, tell me more.
It's pretty awesome. It has a really cool user interface. You flip it over like a book. And it's just pretty much a whole bunch of news feeds of categories and genres and topics that you are interested in. And I just find that a lot of times user experience of a particular platform, either makes or breaks you actually using it. Right, which is probably why some of us, didn't use Slack, for instance, right? And I'm sure, the people in Slack, not to give, Slack and, cut them any slack, but maybe they need to use a new user interface for that matter. But, and that's why a lot of platforms invest into that. But Flipboard is really awesome. I highly recommend it to anyone that is looking to get inspired or to see, what it is that, may interest you, right? And you do it in a very quick and fashionable way. It's pretty awesome.
That sounds a lot. I've never used Flipboard, Vic, but it sounds a lot like Feedly, which I use quite a bit too. And I always recommend to my clients for curating content. So you set up these news feeds that are of interest to yourself and your audience, and it just curates all that information over time, and it seems to have the same effect. And I'm with Kim on Slack. I think it's just overly complex. WhatsApp is so simple. It's just so simple. It's like a text, boom, 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 and then there you go.
So you're using WhatsApp you're using WhatsApp for business then, or just the WhatsApp for business, and you're using that more like group texting then? Yeah, like that.
You can set up a group. Yeah.
Okay.
And get those notifications, right? And something as simple as a Google Drive where everybody can go at all times to kind of see the latest information, make sure they have it. It sounds really simple, but if you don't do that, you're setting yourself up for issues later, right? That people don't have access, they can't find it, those kinds of things.
Yeah,
So you just keep all your timelines just in there. You just are always in the know then. That's basically, and it's similar to Slack. It's just, that's how you use, that's the best method for you. And that's how you establish your deadlines and who's doing what through there.
Well, I think there's project management too. So we've used Trello. I've used Asana.
Pretty cool.
We've used a number of others. Depending on the complexity of the project, you need those kinds of tools.
Yeah.
So sometimes if it's quite simple, you can just use WhatsApp. At other times you need more.
And just for the simplicity, if you're just sharing documents, I 100% am Google Drive. It's so much easier than anything else. And it's free, which is great too. So it's, everybody's, and it's in real time. So everybody has access to everything at the same time.
Yes.
You can also give client access.
Yes.
Yes. Wait, so the client can have access that they need.
View only is key, because I've had a lot of stuff kind of snuck away from me out of my grips, but that's okay. And I've noticed when you have the G Drive set up, some clients that may not feel like they're super technically savvy think you're this wizard. Like you have it all set up and it's so easy. And then when they see how easy it is, they think, why haven't I done this sooner? So yeah, G Suite, G Drive, everything is amazing to me. I know we had another question, so let me just kind of backtrack just a little bit and just make sure we get everything answered. Someone asked, it was anonymous, so I don't have the name right now, but how do you establish new budgets for clients? Does anybody have any tips on that? They actually kind of said a little bit more. They said they've been reaching out and getting pricing. They're finding it to be a difficult time collaborating on alignment. That was the main issue. So establishing budgets when you're not aligned with the client. Do you have any suggestions or tips on that? That's a tricky one.
Yeah. I think what this comes into, and I wanted to bring this up, is one of the challenges with marketing is sometimes clients want things that we don't think are the best time, or they're not ready for them, right? And we see this a lot. Until they have a strong marketing foundation, we normally don't recommend them to spend money on ad campaigns, for example, right? So they'll be like, I want to do this ad, and you'll be like, no, you shouldn't, or do this first. And then they get very impatient. So one of the things we find is, how do you walk that line between making them happier, teaching them best practices in marketing? And if you really give them your honest expertise, I think it can bring budgets in alignment much quicker. Because we know as small businesses, because we are small, we know which things they should invest in first, and we can fit their budget if we have this idea of trust between us.
Something that kind of piggybacks on what we were talking about earlier is one of the things that we do often, especially with Kim, is give different options for proposals. So we usually go with a three-tier option. So tier 1 option consists of these items. Tier 2 options consist of these items, and this is where Billy Bob jumps in and does his thing, right? The third option is the biggest option. This is what, and it'll cover absolutely everything that you need. What option would you like to do? And it empowers the client to make a decision, and usually gives you the ability to land that client easier as well, as opposed to yes or no for this price point on us doing these things, right? And then them have an easier way of backing out and going with another potential person.
I think the combination of those two approaches that both Kim and Vic discussed that's sort of the secret sauce, the way that makes it work. It's that honesty and transparency and willingness to say to the client, you know what, based on my experience, I don't believe that this tactic is right for you right now. Here's what we recommend. I think that builds trust with the client because we're not trying to sell them something that they don't need. And we're willing to say, okay, I don't think you should do that. And then giving them those options. I've learned so much about writing proposals from Kim, and that tiered option I think is brilliant because it benefits everyone and gives them options to choose from.
And full disclosure, I learned that at Freelance Business Week, this idea of how to do a proposal properly, right? So keep it simple and give those options.
See, that's awesome. So that would be why maybe to get an all access pass for the rest of the week, maybe you'll be able to pick up another awesome pointer like that. I did have another question though that kind of goes in line with what you guys are talking about, and I don't know if anyone can answer this, but I'm just going to throw it out there. And do freelancers need to worry about violating antitrust laws if they share information about pricing? Yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one. And yeah, I don't know how many people are sharing their pricing, but yeah, that's a tricky subject. Maybe we should leave that to the attorneys.
Yes.
Yeah, let me tell you what I know a little bit about this from my corporate world. There tends to be an issue when you're all doing exactly the same thing. This idea of price fixing, whereas we're each doing three completely different things. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if we each are very transparent and price that, then we combine that for the client. And we're not really saying the three of us are going to fix a price. We're really rolling up the costs in a very transparent way.
Transparency is key, and that kind of goes with what you were talking about with communication. Personally, I love Slack. I would die without it. So I don't even know how you guys can't do that. Like, I use WhatsApp for some of my freelancers actually that I work with, but Slack is like, you're going to have to just rip that from my dead cold hand someday because it's just like always on. I did have one more like little spin-off question, and it was about, do you guys, when you are meeting and collaborating with, well, not collaborating, when you're meeting with clients, are you meeting with them individually, or are you guys meeting with them as a team?
So both. Vic, do you want to handle that one?
Yeah. I think, it goes back to, having a person, the quarterback, the actual project and spearheading it. And that person is able to work with the client directly and have more face time with that client, and then bring in the other team members as needed.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think this idea of milestones, there are certain times where we all want to be in the room, and we should understand what those are. We want to see Vic's beautiful new logo, and we all want to be there, right? So really planning those very carefully and both handoffs and milestones, I think, of when we all need to be in the room.
Also during the discovery process as well, prior to the proposal. That's something that before working with Kim and Vic was a little nebulous to me. I was always like, how do we bring people in? What's the right way? But I think we've kind of figured out, when to bring each other in to meet with a client so that they understand our individual expertise that we're bringing to the table. And then before we present the actual proposal, so they know who they're going to be working with as we go through.
Okay, on proposals, we have another little question, and that is, how do you keep the prospect from drifting to the least expensive proposal?
I can answer this one. I think to answer this, you have to kind of think about your ideal situation with that client. So like if the ideal situation is the client pays you X amount of money for you to do these three things, then that's usually falls in line with your center option, right? Or, your ideal option. Let's just call it option 2. And then from there, you kind of build less, and that will naturally create option one. So instead of doing your ideal option, I could do, just items 1 and 2 for this amount, or maybe just item 1 for this amount.
Like a la carte you're offering?
Yeah, it could be something like that, and that's okay too. You could go a la carte options. When I work on projects individually without any collaborators, I usually do something similar to that. And then you go all out on your third option, right? That's like, besides the things that you need, here's some potential wants that could be useful down the road that we didn't necessarily maybe talk about as much. We kind of, alluded to it. But if you also wanted these as part of the package and get it going on it as well, this is option 3. And that kind of sets you up for success. And, in turn, again, empowers the client to make, their informed decision.
I like that. You're about empowering the client, and I love that. Well, we literally have 5 minutes left, and I want to know how you guys met each other, and how does somebody find their dream collaboration team? Like, how do we do this? What networking events, freelance business week events? Like, how is this happening, and how can we all be like you?
Well, I have to tell you the story how I met Vic, because it's classic. So I was sitting at a local coffee house in Buffalo, Spot Coffee, having a discussion with a friend. And we start talking about Marie and Freelance Business Week. And the person next to me says, "Hey, do you know Marie?" And that was Vic.
I was literally sitting next to him working on a website for a client of mine. And I'm just overhearing these 2 ladies to the side of me, talking about, I just got a new logo, got, this, got that going, it's like, I'm kind of just overhearing it, as I'm sitting there. And I'm sitting there for close to about easily, 45 minutes up to an hour. I got my caramel macchiato, I got my warm peanut butter cookie, I got my little combo going, and I'm just, going away at my job. And then towards the end, as I'm packing up, she actually just mentions that. So it's just a casual conversation. Sometimes when you are in places where a lot of freelancers dwell at, you will come across situations like that naturally. Hence, co-working spaces and all the cool things that, that are around our city, particularly. So,
yeah. It's like Marie is like Kevin Bacon. Everybody knows Marie.
Kevin Bacon, yes.
He brought us all together. So I met Kim at Freelance Business Week 2 years ago. I was presenting, and I met her just through she participated in my discussion, and then I invited her to join be my guest at the Women's Business Center e-network. And that's where I had previously, met other collaborators too. And I was introduced to Vic back then through Marie, and he may or may not remember that. But and then that sort of circled back around, and my collaboration with Kim, she brought me into this circle, and now we're all one.
Rest is history.
Yeah, and the thing is, like to go back, you don't necessarily have to have a team per se. Right. You could have people do different things, know people that do different things, and have multiple teams for that matter. But I think it's important to collaborate. It's good for the soul. It's good for the freelancer soul. Ultimately good for your clients.
Yeah, I agree. I work at Hansa, so I'm all about co-working, and I live a very lonely life. When I'm home here, I'm in my basement office, so I collaborate with anyone willing to talk to me. So I did the same thing with Marie 2 years ago at Osteria. I just was like, "Are you Marie? I stalk you. I'm sorry. I'm Claire." So that's how we met. I was the stalker. So this is one of my Phoenix phases. But I just want to wrap this up so that I can introduce the next session. And the next session for everybody is effortless customer organization and management with Courtney Hamp and Kenyana David. Kenyana will be hosting this event, and we hope you all will be there. I just want to point out also that you can reach the links in the comments for anybody else that needs to access that. And again, thank you to our sponsor, Southtowns Regional Chamber of Commerce, and thank you to our panel. This was very informative, and I know I'm taking away a lot from it. So would suggest everybody using Slack, but other than that, I'm going to take all of these awesome pointers.
Please connect with us. We have a link in the comments.
Yeah.
We have an article that we've written and our contact information. We'd love to connect with anyone going forward. Be part of our tribe, please.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great week, Buffalo.
Take care.
Thanks.